Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. Alright, in this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we talk with guitarist David Wolford and drummer Nathan Searle of the Bristol alt-pop band Adult Leisure. The two discuss the band's recent success, their latest singles Kiss Me Like You Miss Her and Borderline, their tour of Sweden, the music industry, the state of pop music today, the importance of production in pop music, and much more. Hey guys, can you wake up?
Hi, mate. All right.
How's it going?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's nice to meet you again.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on again.
Of course, of course. It will
Yeah,
just
it's
be
been
the three
great.
of us here.
I think it's gonna be the three of us. Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
Dave. Oh, there. Oh, Dave's here.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Hi,
Hey, how's it
Dave.
going, Dave?
Yeah, how you getting on, man? You right?
It's good to see you guys again. I try not to take up too much of your time. I guess like the first thing I was going to ask was the last time we spoke was about a year ago. Well, actually, it was the summertime last year when Bad Idea was coming out. I was wondering like what have you guys kind of been up to in that time?
Go-
Go for it,
Do you want
Dave.
me to go? Oh, right, me. Sorry, mate.
Not all at once.
Yeah. I think it's probably pretty safe to say it's like our busiest year yet. After that, I think we had. Hang on a minute. My dog is in the windowsill, and he's just bear 1 second.
No worries.
Right, come in. Sit quietly.
I'm
Sit
getting
quiet.
I'm getting COVID flashbacks.
Right, there we go. Sorry, but he just doesn't like to be left on his own, bless him.
Oh, of course.
Um, yeah, it was like probably the most like monumentous year for us. We had like Bad Idea was our biggest tune at the time, and it kind of set on just a load of events really. Like we did two tours of the UK, we did a tour in Sweden. Like it was really amazing. Like we got to do loads of more things. After I think, do you know what, it's so long ago since that came out. Oh, I missed anything, Nate? Bad idea.
No, I don't think so. It's been crazy since then, really, and
Yeah.
it's just been really nice to have people react to it in that way. Do you know what I mean? And which enables us to do these amazing things, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like the first proper things, like things were good up until Bad Idea, and then after Bad Idea, things just went to that really nice sort of next level where shows were getting bigger and it was really yeah, it was really good. Like people outside our friendship group liked our band, which is good.
I'm interested that you were talking about touring Sweden there because when we spoke, you guys are sort of saying, "Oh yeah, I'd love to kind of be able to tour around and have the opportunity to kind of go around." I think you guys were mentioning, like you can see like the analytics of where people are listening to heat maps and all that. So I was wondering, yeah, I mean, like, what kind of like inspires you to go to Sweden?
I think we've got quite a lot of listeners in Scandinavia in general, and I think it was just it just the stars just aligned really. It wasn't like a conscious. It was like we need to go to Sweden. It was yes for, um, and we were just like yeah, let's do it. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was literally it really. It was just the stars aligning. Kind of went over to Sweden and it was that we're going to be in Norway next year as well. So
Oh, you're breaking up, Nate.
region for Spotify stats. Oh, you got me back there?
I got
You're
you there
back.
now, yeah.
Have you got me back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the Spotify stats in that region is great.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously, I mean, like, how do you guys kind of find like touring with kind of like working like regular jobs and kind of doing these things? That's what I'm kind of like interested in, because like it's very interesting when like people have these like success stories, and there's all this demand for them, but then there's also just the material reality of kind of how we're living, that kind of
Yeah.
sort of tempers that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, so it's I think the thing we've learned is that whenever you hear an older band or a successful band talk about you have to make sacrifices, that sounds like a very easy thing for someone to say, like, oh, you're not gonna have to, sacrifice a lot. And it's true. Like we're so basically we all work full time. So whenever we get our refresh of holiday, the first thing we all do is it's basically reserved completely for touring and shows, to the point where, our partners are having to be really, really understanding
Mhm.
that like it might, I think me and my fiance, like our first holiday was last week, and we literally just went to Cornwall for a couple of days with some friends.
Mhm.
And bless her, like that's all I could kind of give was, oh, I can take 2 days off, but still being cautious that I still need days off just in case something happens. So you have to have a lot of people around you that understand what you're doing requires a lot of time. They have to also be massively understanding that it isn't like any other job or career where you're going to be getting financially rewarded reflective of the amount of time you put into it. In fact, you're going to be hemorrhaging money
Yeah.
because of what's required of you. So, we have studio time booked every month, and we've created this kind of sort of machine that kind of goes from a demo to the studio to single so we keep on releasing, but that's money, that's time in the studio, that's weekends away, that's it's a lot. And then, when they say, how much do you earn? You're like, well, we got paid 50 quid.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's it's difficult, but I think it's the making of a band. I think these are the hurdles that I think a lot of other bands would go, do you know what? It's not beneficial. Whereas our hunger is still as if we're 17.
Yeah.
It's there. It's almost nicer as well because we're getting little tastes of success that I think we're all sort of old enough and ugly enough to realize that if we were doing something that was going downward, we would just quit. We would just say, this is ridiculous, what are we doing? But it's not. Like it's all going the other way. So that kind of makes you go, well, why would you stop? Like if
Yeah.
everything's going your way, you'd be an idiot to go, oh well, I'm not earning a lot, but it's like, but you just have to do it. So sorry, very long-winded way of
No, no,
saying,
absolutely not.
yeah, it is incredibly difficult, and you have to have a really, really good support network and
Yeah.
people that are really understanding. And that's friends as well, because there's some friends I haven't seen in a year, half a year, that I used to see all the time, but all of our personal time now is this. So it's difficult, but you wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah. Well, one thing, just kind of based on something you were saying there, is that you were talking about like, kind of older musicians would say you just gotta stick with it, and you just gotta like, persist basically. But, one thing I think is that the dynamics have changed a lot now. And, before, I guess there was the idea that, you just keep gigging, and eventually like some A&R guy would see you and you get
Yeah,
signed to a label, and that would
yeah,
be your
yeah.
source of income. But I just don't think that's really feasible anymore.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's we have to be everything at the minute. Gigging is an avenue of it's really good. That's your bread and butter. That's your thing that you should have nailed down just to begin with. If you're bad live, that's what you need to focus on. You need to be great live. But in this modern day, you also need to be an editor. You need to be a film editor. You need to be Photoshop whiz. You need to be social media whiz. You need to be creating, and I hate the word content. Like it's everything. It's all encompassing. And there's a really interesting sort of article the other day, and I think it was something ridiculous like and they were talking specifically about classical music, but it said 4% of low income people go into classical music because it's basically prioritized for those who can.
Mhm.
And that, copy and paste that to the music industry. It's, I mean, I tend to get on my high horse on this a bit. And I think I get a little bit spiteful because for band, unless you, like I said earlier, unless you have that support network and you're able to do it, it's iron impossible to have the funds you need to be anywhere near successful. And unfortunately, what we're seeing at the moment is a huge influx of, and it's not criticizing privately educated people because there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is you get a high influx of people who have a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of connections. You don't stand a chance because the A&R people went to the same school. The label owner is their dad. So like rather than going out like in the 90s, like Alex Jones from Blur was saying, he was like in the 90s, every Saturday, Friday night, there would be A&R people in London watching bands. They don't need to now. Now they just go, we need a band that fills XY quota, and they'll go, well, I know somebody who knows somebody. Half of it's manufactured. And then that's why sadly we don't have anything that lasts anymore because it's it's paving the cracks. It's going, here's a band that you really like. They've made a really good song that's co-written by 25 people. It'll be massive for a year, but no one's invested because they haven't come from anything. No one's watched them grow up. No one's watched them develop. They haven't got the fans that they were playing to when it was 5 people in a crowd. You know, it's all very well being presented as a massive artist, but you won't last as one because you haven't done the stuff that is required. Bloody hell, I am ranting so much. I'm so sorry.
I think
Let it out. Let it all
I
out.
think the numbers are just is as well. It's like what you have to achieve to kind of get that interest from. Well, I'm talking about mainly major labels now, but I think I saw a video recently, and it was a band who were doing really well, but they needed something like 50. They were turned down because they didn't have 50,000 followers.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's where we are now. That's the industry now. It's all about the numbers game. It's all about how many followers have you got. Which is sad because it's kind of really losing that kind of element of, are you good musicians? Great. Do you know what I mean? Let's work together. And it's not about that so much anymore. It's more about kind of facts and figures now. Which that's the game. That's the game now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also sucks too because also from the kind of perspective of music journalism, I know a lot of publications, which I won't name, but certain publications have that thing too, where it's like, if a PR company, say for example, gets in contact about coverage for a certain act, like the number one concern is going like Instagram and checking the follower count. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I think like I understand too, like for circulation, you kind of want to have the big acts, and you kind of want people to view it like that. But like I think ideally, and this is just me being an idealist perhaps, but I think like the idea should be you kind of like get people in by, waving the big acts in front of them on like the front cover. But then when you actually read a magazine or you go to a website, there's also, coverage of up and coming acts too. It shouldn't
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be who's popular because then just becomes a repeating cycle of like, well, how can someone be popular if they're not getting coverage,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think the sad thing is the bands that are a lot of the band, and like I said, I'm not calling out any bands at
Mhm.
all, but the up and coming bands that are in these major publications are usually the bands that are um, industry bands, and put together kind of by the industry, which is sad. It's sad, There's a lot of
Yeah.
really really good musicians out there and really really good bands who deserve that attention and that coverage.
Mhm.
I think it's if you were to look at it sort of like on a rather than just a review of like modern music, modern culture, but also how we perceive media now. I There's a really horrible part of me, which is a cynical part, which is actually I think a lot of people don't really care. I think music now is a case of going, it can be faceless music now. There's no real need to get involved because Spotify, is an evil that we all must, you know, connect to because it's the only way people are going to listen to your music.
Mhm.
However, what that's created is just a sort of everlasting library of faceless musicians that you just like a song of. So
Yeah.
you'll hear it on a playlist, you'll like that song. And then when you listen to that song, for example, the newest single might be out, but that might necessarily be the next single that plays after. So they're not listening to the new song, they're just listening to the catalogue of songs. And there really needs to be that kind of interest, like I was saying, from the beginning, so that when you do get that big, you're going to have people go, like, I love this band already. I can't wait to hear this. Whereas it's all very well having a million streams on a single, but if 10% of those streams actually come from a fan base and the rest is just passive listening,
Mhm.
what is it? Well, really, like, and I think the biggest sort of eye opener was it Rizzo or oh, this is terrible. Sizzle or Rizzo headline Glastonbury.
I get them confused too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing artist,
Yeah.
huge, billions in streams, right? Couldn't fill Glastonbury on the final night.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not because they're awful, not anything to do with that. It's purely a case of there wasn't the fan base. There was, and having multiple million streams on a song doesn't equate to multiple millions of fans
Mhm.
and
No.
people that are interested. So, you have things now like legacy acts, which is a horrible term. It basically is the cash cow act. It's the act that it's like, I can still fill an arena full of people. So that's like The Killers, Kings of Leon, Arctic Monkeys, and I would say probably a legacy act
Mhm.
because people, as much as they're putting out new music, they're known more for sort of everything up to AM, probably, right?
Right.
So one of the problems is that we're still relying on these bands. Like I'm a huge Green Day fan, right?
Mhm.
Now, Green Day are headlining Download next year. That's not really a festival that Green Day should be headlining. I would actually put them more. I know it's probably a long shot, but I would say they should have done Glastonbury. They're
Mhm.
that big. They've done, they're 30 years in the industry, massive millions of albums. They'd pack out Glastonbury. But the problem is there aren't the bands for each of these festivals. So they basically download have gone, who's a massive rock act that we haven't had? And it's like, well, Green Day, I suppose, right? But they just know. And where's the new band? Like Noel Gallagher said it perfectly. Like, where's the new Oasis? Where would the band that's gonna like? But the problem is you won't have that because unfortunately the system we live in now won't allow that to happen. So I think if we're battling a really weird industry at the minute, and I think our sort of attitude towards it is we will just continue to do what we do as we want to do it and have the success that comes from that naturally and not cheat the system, not buy likes, not buy fans, like just naturally grow something. And if you really, really try, you might end up breaking even in a couple of years'
Yeah.
time, which would be lovely, right?
I
But
do find the idea of like, putting money into getting fans to be very strange because it's
uh,
kind of like I don't get it. Like it's like I don't know, there's no personal connection. I don't even from the perspective of people who say see something. I don't know, because like I get sponsored ads, for example, for artists, and I will like and follow the ones who I think are interesting to me personally. But just in general, I kind of feel like, when you're putting money into promoting your stuff in like social media now, I just kind of feel like and you see numbers increase and everyone does. Like if you actually put, however much money into it, you will see
hmm,
numbers increase. But I'm always kind of like, well, who are these people in a way? They don't
yeah,
have any
yeah,
kind of connection. Like, are they gonna stick around and all of this,
yeah,
Mm.
It's very
Yeah,
yeah,
strange.
absolutely.
yeah. It's a very not a fickle industry because I don't think it's intentional. It's not. I don't think people love music in this country, especially just because, ironically, because of the amount of festivals we have and things like that. Like it's ingrained in our culture. But at the moment, we're choking on nostalgia
Yeah.
because nothing's come along. Like everyone knows at the minute, it's like the 90s again. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it is the 90s. Stone Roses are massive, Oasis are massive. It's like they're all amazing, absolutely incredible bands. but I can't name you a single band that's had that effect on this country since.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing. There's not been a movement of like that on that scale since, and I think it's because a lot of the sort of risk taking is being removed because they're losing so much money
Yeah.
that they can't take a punt. They can't go, there's this band, by the way, they're not media trained and they're going to be rude, but their album's going to go like triple platinum. Like
Yeah.
the industry will just go, no, thank you. We'll have 8 Harry Styles, please. And
Yeah.
it's because it's money, safe. Can they sing? Great. We've got the best songwriters in the world. It's fine. So I think as I'm getting older, especially, my idea of the industry when I was young was that of, like you said, play shows, get signed, the mansion, right? And like that's how we'll do it. And I think, and I was speaking to other people that are sort of further in the industry and are, for example, having that life of living as a musician to varying degrees, like really successful to just paying rent.
Mhm.
What they all say is the industry isn't linear. It's you can be a part of the industry, but not necessarily what you think the industry will look like. So, can you earn money from being a band? Yeah, of course. Like, can you earn millions? Unlikely. But but you can make money from it. And I think if we were invested in money, you wouldn't be in a band to begin with because
No.
that's never the goal, and it very rarely is the goal, and you'll be very, very disappointed for a very long time. Like my mum still says now, like we got paid X amount of money for a gig the other day, and the
Mhm.
first thing she says, she goes, "Is that each?" And you go, "No." It's like that's a band. It's like, and but that's the thing. And I think if you go in with the right attitude of like, we love it because we love music and we think that we're doing something really cool and we like the fact that people love it and that we're doing it ourselves. It's all in house. It's like the only external person is our manager, Jade. Um,
Yep.
but that's it. Like we don't have a booker, we don't have a label, we don't have anything, we don't have a publisher. Like we don't have anything. And it's like
Mhm.
there is that nice kind of cowboy feeling of you're not constricted by anything. So you can put out material that you want and stuff. So that's going to end my TED talk for now. I do apologize.
Yeah, I think
Well,
having said that, if there is a label or booker that wants to sign us up, great, that'd be absolutely
Yeah.
great.
well, look,
Yeah. Yeah.
would you guys kind of be selective about that? Because like I do think a lot of times reputation and kind of like I don't know I'm not like calling anyone out, but like I don't know I think
Do it.
sometimes there are people who aren't doing things for the most noble reason, let's say, and they're kind of more interested in, I don't know, it's weird, like Instagram aesthetics and things like that. It's more just like, oh, I have connections with this artist and look at me, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of significant because I have this person on my my contacts list or whatever.
Yeah.
But like someone like Jay, who I've worked with for a while, I mean, like to me, it's like, I really like appreciate her kind of like diligence and her kind of like, real commitment to kind of elevating the Bristol music scene and,
Hmm.
other British artists too, of course.
Yeah.
And things like that. So are you kind of selective when it comes to who you want to work with, or is it just kind of like any random person can if they make you the right offer?
Yeah.
I think we're quite selective, aren't we? We've had we have had chats with various
Yeah.
different people like bookers and stuff like that, and those chats haven't particularly worked out for us offers wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
These things, but and you have to be selective, with who you work with, because if you're just going to work with anyone, it's not gonna it's never going to work. Do you know what I mean? You have to do your research into the companies and kind of what you're being offered. So
Hmm.
yeah, we're very selective. We're very, very lucky to have Jade. Jade is just, she is great. She's done so much for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
She works so incredibly hard. It is
Hmm.
unbelievable. She's been away on holiday, and she's still sending us messages. I've just had this email, blah blah blah. And it's just like
Yeah.
Jade, take a break.
Yeah.
She's gonna love listening to this.
Yeah,
She's
isn't
gonna love
it? You're not that great, Jade. I think it's
I think you're wonderful, Jade, if you're listening.
He's got his fingers crossed, Jade. The thing about being selective as well is like because we are that little bit older, we are less likely to be kind of the carrot would have to be pretty big to be dangled for us to go, oh yes, please, because we love what we have and we love our music so much that I've known bands that have been signed to. I mean, I won't name the band, but there was a band who signed to a major, recorded the album, and then Bastille came out, and their label said, "You sound too much like Bastille, so we're shelving your album." And that's it. And then that label now owns that album that will never be released. But the best thing is they aren't able to own that either. So they would have to re-record the whole thing, obviously, to make a new master. But the idea that somebody else would be able to go, I own that now. And I think you need to find that sweet spot of absolutely understanding that a label will have to have some sort of leverage. They'll have to have something. They have to own a master because they need to make money, etc. But it's knowing that you're not getting ripped off, and it's knowing that is the label you're going with, or the booking agent, or the publisher, are they in it because to make a quick buck, or is it actually they really like you and they think they can do a lot with you? And that's what I mean. Sort of, so you choose people based on what they see you as and what they want to do with your music. But yeah, I think for all of us, we care too much and it's all us. So if anyone was just the thought of it's like giving up a kid, like going, okay, you like what do you want to do to someone else? And it's like, well, no, that's our thing. So I think we're nowhere we say no to a label at all. Like we'd absolutely love to, because I think the romantic part of it as well is the fact that you get to a ripe old age and say that, oh, I was signed to a label, etc. And there is that romanticism with being in the music industry and having that little badge of honor to say like, oh, we're like a major label artist or something like that. But like I said, there's so many different avenues into the industry that our priority at the minute is releasing music and getting our fan base up to scratch and doing things like that, rather than going, can we hop the queue and jump to be super duper famous? Because it'd be short lived. If like we jumped like now, if we just piggybacked onto someone, it's like, oh, a day later you've got like 500,000 followers. Like it's not going to last, is it? Because people aren't invested. So slow and steady, basically. And
just before we jump off the topic, just one more thing I want to ask about it, which is I'm noticing now major labels doing something that you typically only ever saw with independent labels historically, I think, which is artists are now licensing their music to be released by whichever major label it is. And that used to be a thing that some independents would do, where it was like license it to us for however many years and then you get the rights back. I think now perhaps artists but again, it's something that you have to kind of only if you have enough kind of pull, I guess, to be able to achieve this. So it's not just, this isn't for everyone, obviously, but I think to some degree there is perhaps a little bit of power coming to the artists now, and I don't think that's I don't think that's the major major music industry being altruistic or trying to help the artists in that
do
sense.
the right thing.
I think their power is just waning somewhat. And I think like really ever since the Napster days, man, like I just think ever since that in the 21st century, it's just like I just feel like everyone's kind of been scrambling to try and make music profitable.
Absolutely. Like it's the biggest secret of the music industry is that the music industry is dying on its ass. Like they are clueless. That's why they stay safe. That's why they've got the catalogue of songwriters. That's why, because again, this is the horrible cynic in me coming out. When a band comes out and you've never heard of them before, and their second gig, I don't know, supporting Rolling Stones, right? Naming no names. So, wow, here we go, brand new band. This is really exciting. This is amazing. And then you go, oh, there's another new band they're really exciting, but I've never heard of them either. And it's like, yep, it's because we don't want to take the punt on a band. We want to make a thing that sells. And we'll put you with the best songwriters, we'll put you with the best producers, and there you go. Everybody pat yourself on the back. We've done very well, and that's it. Whereas I really struggle to see what we're gonna be like in 10 to 15 years. Like, because Elton John's quit music now, so he's not going to be able to headline Glastonbury when he's 80 odd.
Well, he
Like,
might. He's always quitting coming back.
he's always about him. It'll be holograms. That's what it'll be. It'll just be all the holograms of all the great
Oh
artists.
Jesus, that's
Can you imagine
depressing. Yeah,
that?
it probably will. No, it probably actually will, man. Because like,
Prince,
well,
Michael Jackson headlining Glastonbury.
well, we're seeing that with the film industry now, where it's just like they're just using like CG replicas of dead actors. I'm like, that is so
It is
disrespectful.
beautiful, isn't it? What a
Well, I think there
beautiful
is,
thing that we live in. Disgusting.
in isn't there an exhibition in London for ABBA? Isn't there a
Oh,
hologram
Voyager.
type of thing? Yeah,
That what I would say
yeah.
is that's slightly different because that's ABBA themselves.
Yeah.
And they
Okay.
basically and apparently my mum's been twice, right? So don't slag it off, Nate, right? I've been twice now, so you're gonna have to take it with my mum. But I just think, yeah, it's just mental, mate. So I think I do tend to get on my high horse about this sort of stuff because I think a part of me is quite scared. Like, it's quite scared to be like this thing that when I was younger that seemed completely out of reach. As I'm getting older, is seeming more and more and more like it's disappearing. Like it's just gone are the days. And I'm really hoping what happens is it just clicks back. I really hope that all of a sudden someone just goes, what it takes is for an indie label to find the next big thing and go, we're not going to do the major route. We're going to do the we're going to do the Oasis thing. It's going to be another Aaron McGee just going, I've got this band, here we go, and they're going to be massive, and it will reset it. And I think it's positive to see that physical media now is, and not just vinyl, tape, like actual, like someone was saying the other day as well that like apparently there's been a massive resurgence in people buying like video and DVD as well because it's too much. You have too much stuff. You have too much shite. That's just sorry. I can swear, can't I?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, yeah. Like you've got too much. Like every type of video is just sat there on Netflix, Amazon Prime. You've got Apple. You've got everything, but you never have the thing you want to watch. Whereas if you own it, you own that bit of media. That's yours. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got it. Records, that's coming back. Well, that's old hat now. That's pretty much back to like before CD, which is fucking sick. CD and tape is like coming back, and it's like
tapes at a lot of merch tables now.
Because we had mate, like at our gigs, people say like, "Have you got a record? Have you got a tape?" And it's not because they're going to listen to the tape; it's because they own it on tape. It's a piece of media they have, and it's like I really hope, and I think it goes in cycles, doesn't it? And I think what will happen is, what I'm praying that happens, is that people get fed up of the options of unlimitedness, and people go back to being selective and going, I actually just want to listen, and reclaiming what indie meant, which is like independent artists making things independently, not through a conglomerate, and not something that's just fucking shoved down your throat, man. It's just dull, isn't it? Like it's death by fucking. No, check me out, mate. That's fucking swearing, and every other sentence I'm like, fucking hell.
I said you could say shit, not fuck. No. It's a 12 rated.
Oh, it's PG.
Okay. I did. I actually did buy some cassettes the other day. Actually, I bought Prince's greatest hits.
Oh.
And we were on a cassette recently, weren't we? A really lovely publication, Chalk Pit Cassette Club. They put us on one of their cassettes recently, which they do as like a subscription with their magazine. So that was really lovely of them. So yeah, cassettes are on their way back. Bring back physical media. Absolutely.
Yeah, bring it back.
Actually, I don't know. Like, are cassettes easy for indie artists to make? Because I know vinyl, for example, the big issue is that it's so expensive, and even if you have the money, the backlog is so big that like it really dictates how long it can get out. But I don't know how easy tapes are to make and distribute.
I think, oh yeah, I'm not too sure. I think they're pretty. Yeah, I think it's pretty easy, isn't it?
I'm
Is it,
going to
Dave?
say,
Yeah.
yeah, because, and this prepare for the most speaking out of my ass I've ever done. I
Okay.
imagine it's easy because rather than going tape to tape like it used to be, it
Yeah.
would now just be a case of going digital to tape. So it would be a case of having a blank cassette, having a playlist on anything, and then just playing it onto the cassette and working out obviously the timings and making sure you'd obviously have to know the equations of how long the
Yeah.
cassette tape is to
Sure.
then work out what you can put on. But I imagine it's definitely cheaper than putting stuff to vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think yeah, it's just like we would love to do stuff like that. We'd love to do vinyl. We'd love to do all that, but unfortunately for us, it's just not financially viable.
yeah, it's
You
just
know,
not.
like
Yeah.
we can't even afford to have it printed. You know, let alone all right, we probably would make a profit on it if we sold it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's yeah, it's the process of us actually having it printed. You know what I mean? It's like yeah, it's something we need
You
to
were
save up for.
looking into what is it? You were saying there's like companies now that do like made to order. So you
Yeah.
basically order it online and they'll just make it for you there and then, not there and then, like not like a takeaway. Like like they'll process it and then they'll send
30
out.
minutes
So
or less, so your
yeah,
cassette is
yeah,
free.
yeah, you're fine.
So yeah,
Yeah, but
there is print. It's print to order. It's print to order.
that's it. Yeah, because
Which
that's
is really
then.
cool. It's more accessible. It's more it makes it easier, but it's very expensive still. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's not
well,
like
yeah.
financially, you're not going to see much of a profit off of that on
Well, that's
Yeah,
good
and
then.
print
Yeah,
to
that's
order.
good. Yeah.
well, one thing that's kind of shit is that like we've always kind of known, like I think actually the live music industry, we were told like, okay, the conventional wisdom was, well, that's kind of where the profit is now. But I think now they got too greedy with that too, where actually you were bringing up Oasis. The recent Oasis things have actually come under scrutiny by both the British and Irish
It's
governments for
taking the
now
absolute
they're
piss. Yeah.
well, now they're looking into like,
Yeah.
dynamic pricing and stuff, and that was such a huge profit margin for them that it's just like I think you guys screwed up now where it's like and to be clear, I think these things absolutely should be regulated, but like I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of like, obviously they don't.
No, this is
Yeah.
there's amazing like we're huge fans of The Cure and I love Robert Smith, but I love him just as a person and he
Yes, yes.
has recently come out and started talking about Ticketmaster and basically said we charge £25 as a
Yeah.
band to come see us. They add a fee on,
Mhm.
right? And he says, and next thing you know, your ticket is 70 quid. And he's like, why? What's that?
Yeah.
What's the extra money for? And he says, and he's got on the blower to the bloke at Ticketmaster and said, like, what is it for? I said, if you're gonna add it on, let the people know what it's for. If it's
Yeah.
like admin charge, sweeping up the arena after, like at least let people know what the extra fee is for. And we all know the extra fee is shit. It's just so they
Yeah.
can make ridiculous amounts of money, right? And again, now you've got the conglomerates making hand over fist money. Whereas, like, I know today actually they brought in the news that a certain percentage now of all major arena shows and ticket like big ticket prices for things like Oasis, The Cure, and stuff like that, they have to now give a percentage to grassroots venues,
That's good.
which is amazing
Yeah.
because like it's all very well being at the very and that again like this is the problem with the industry at the minute. It's like for the haves, it's banging
Yeah.
because you're making so much money, but there's no middle ground anymore. It's either skin or you're making loads of money.
Absolutely.
And it's just
Absolutely.
like, how are you going to get anything? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, what sucks too is that like even when we're talking about kind of like the revenue of an artist, I will get onto your music. I'm just interested in this
Mate,
discussion too.
honestly,
But
this is you have caught me on one of my top topics, mate. Honestly, don't worry about it.
No, I just want to ask too, because like, when it comes to like merchandise, for example, like that's always been, the revenue of where like a lot of artists kind of get their money, and I think even sometimes people buy shit that they don't really want just because they want to support the artist, especially if they're an
Yeah,
independent act and they're a touring act, if they're an international act. But even now, venues are doing merch cuts, and I'm just like, I hope like
Yep.
venues like I hope people can select, and that can be a thing they ask the promoters and the bookers beforehand. It's like, does this place do merch goods? And if it
yeah, yeah.
does, a lot of dude, I'm telling you, like a lot of places now, a lot of artists I'm seeing touring are doing like pop-up shops and things just because they want to retain the money, and
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, it's such a bigger picture. It's because that venue isn't making as much money as it should
yeah,
do. So everyone's picking for scraps. And lo and behold, who's worst off is the artist.
yeah.
Like the
and
reason
and,
an
and the
event
fans too. I think they're
and
both
and the fans, like
suffer.
you're so, like we have it all the time. And I think that it restored our faith in people a lot being in a band is that we'll have people come up to us and say exactly what you just said, which was like, I just want to support you. If you've got a t-shirt, like blah blah blah. That's amazing. It's something you've
Mm.
done, somebody likes, they want to pay you some money for it.
Yeah,
Amazing. But like now it's a case of something we've made, somebody likes. The venue now takes a cut of that because they were very kind enough to let you play there and make
yeah,
them lots of money on the bar. And then they've given you your £25 for petrol money, which is very nice of them.
yeah,
And now they want that back through merch. And it's not, it's cynical Dave coming out where like you could say it's venues taking the piss, but they're failing. So something needs to
mm,
be done. Otherwise, it's just going to be being in a band. What I really don't want to see in like 10 years is actually being in a band is just completely not beneficial for anyone
yeah,
because you'll just art will just that art will die of like
yeah.
kids
Yeah.
being in bands.
We have to support our grassroots venues. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
Totally.
literally are the beating heart of the industry. Like we, it's a massive win for the industry. I know the Music Venue Trust have been working on a deal to get these big, get this money to. Is it from tickets, Dave? Is that right? Every
yeah,
part of the industry, the tickets and stuff like that, going back into the grassroots venue, and that's a massive win for
Yeah.
grassroots venues. You know what I mean? Hopefully, um, that's going to give them a lot more protection, and it's going to protect the industry. Um, yeah, from just becoming huge bands playing arenas.
yeah. It's investment. That's all it is. Is it you're
Yeah,
investing in, see it as a stock where you go, well, I need to ensure that this has a livelihood. So I better make sure that the thing that's creating all these bands is still there.
Yeah.
So yeah, gee, do you know what? We just put the world to right there, didn't we? Like, just have a listen to Adult Leisure, and yeah, everything's rubbish, but it's fine.
Everything's rubbish except for Adolescent's music.
Except for our new single.
That's the only thing
yeah.
good in the world at the moment.
Buy a t-shirt.
But let's talk about Adolescent's music. Let's lift everyone's spirits. So you guys came back this year in August with Borderline, and that seemed to do like really well in terms of like reception, things like that. Again, I mean, for yourselves, I mean, like when you put a single out that obviously you guys have been working on, and it's something that you put a lot of work and effort into. I mean, what does critical reception matter to you, or is it more kind of like the reception from the average person? Like, what's more significant to you?
Go on,
Go
Dave.
on, Dave. Go on, Dave.
Oh,
Go on.
Um, uh, I th fundamentally, it's what people like. I hate your word fans, but it's what the public think, really.
Mm,
Um, critics, by definition, are critical. Um, we're lucky, really. We've not had any bad critics as of yet, but we're very small still, so that will come. Don't worry. Um, I think, I think when we first started, we were worried about the perception we had within the local scene because at
mm,
the time it was very post-punk and very Idols point to, it was like every
yeah,
band was doing that, and we are poppy. Yes, we have heavy songs, but we all love melody and we all love pop music. And it doesn't matter what you dress it up in, it's still pop music at the end of the day. So there was, I think initially we got a little bit disgruntled because I think again that this could be internal. We felt as if we were going into an audience of people that thought we were automatically a bit like because we weren't the thing that we weren't like in what's the best way to describe it? We weren't exactly like welcomed as like a lot, especially in a lot of cool places in Bristol. Like we got to a point where we knew a lot of labels in Bristol have heard of us and people were talking about us. And yeah, it was still very much like
Yeah.
you're
No, I
not
think
keen to.
that's
You know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't want to say any names, but it was very much like because you're not angry and because you're not post-punk, you're sort of you're not credible. It was
Right.
yeah,
almost seen as like pop, and to me, like pop should never be a dirty word. Like
No.
every band, if they have a hit, that's pop. Like and I will stand by this to the grave. It does not matter what you dress it up in. If you have a hit, it's most likely because it's got a poppy chorus or it's catchy. Like take Idols for example. Dan in the Delco is probably one of their biggest hits, and it's the most poppiest chorus out of any of their songs because people love melody. Doesn't matter, like again, like you will get the die-hard fans that aren't into that and are into to expression and stuff like that, and that's great, but that's just nothing we give a fuck about.
Right.
So
mm,
yes, we care in regards to whether people take our music as serious, as in like it's not a case of almost less than because we're not heavy and brooding and stuff. But fundamentally, like who gives a fuck? Like critics, who cares?
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
I
what
don't, I don't think I don't think we make conscious efforts to like fit into a particular thing that is happening
yeah, exactly.
at any particular time. Like obviously when we first like Dave said there exactly like when we first started playing shows and stuff, that was a heavy post punk scene, and but at the same time we didn't think what can we do to go against the grain. It was never
Yeah,
that. It was never about that. It was just like it sounds so cliche, but we literally just wanted to write music that we liked writing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And work to our strengths. Like Dave's a really great songwriter, and we work to the strengths of Dave. Writing the initial idea, and then kind of we all have our two pence on it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we don't try and fit into like any kind of what's happening now. Let's do this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's not.
Do you think
It's
do you
not.
think that's kind of like a thing of maturity? Because like I think do you think because you guys were kind of saying like um like now as you're older, I mean kind of like do you feel like if you were younger you would have conformed more? Do you still think you would have
Oh,
just had that
definitely.
righteous indignation? Okay.
Oh God, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
come on, when you're young, I
Yeah.
think a real thing but well, like being young is wanting to be accepted. That's all it is, isn't
Yeah.
it? You don't want to be a misfit, really. You want to be a
Mhm.
part of. That's why you see so many people that, like, when they grow up, are completely different to who they were when they're younger. Because for a lot of their life, they were just doing the thing that most people
Yeah.
wanted to do. Like, I think our music tastes, like, none of us are into that kind of music. Like all of our, I mean, my inspirations, like, I mean, to be fair, my inspirations could probably do with some updating because mine are like Prince, Talking Heads,
Yeah.
Tears for Fears, like all these sort of like The Cure, The Smiths, like this kind of new wave sound that I really loved. But I think the art of it is just copying it to a point and then making it modern. And so it sounds different. So I think, yeah, age is a massive factor. You sort of just don't care. And, this isn't our first band, this isn't our first show. So you kind of go in with an attitude of, like Nave said, you're going to write songs that we love. And if people like it, sound. But
Yeah.
I
Mm.
think, yeah, you can't be doing stuff for other people because you get found out as well,
Mhm.
you know?
No,
Mm.
totally. And also, one other thing I wanted to ask was actually just about your opinions on pop music as it is now, because I actually think pop music in a lot of ways kind of gotten a lot better, even like from like 15 years ago or so, like as when I was like a teenager to compared to now in my 30s. I mean, like I think pop music now is much better. I think a lot of
Yeah.
it, and I think it kind of goes back to what we're kind of talking about, the dissolvement of major labels, because I think of like you know, at one point to be a pop musician, you're heavily scrutinized. You could not talk about politics. You could not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
individualize yourself. Where now you have acts like, Chappell Roan, Billie Eilish, Taylor
yeah.
Swift,
Yeah.
Renee Rapp, like just all these very varied artists and performers who have their own kind of distinct style. Do you think pop music now is in a good place, or what's your opinion on it?
I think it's in a
Yeah,
really great place, isn't it? I mean, that Sabrina Carpenter album,
Yeah,
Taste.
yeah.
What an album! What an
yeah,
album! That is absolutely incredible. The production is just insane, isn't it? It's I think pop music is yeah, it's huge right now, and it's great to see.
I
Um,
think, yeah, I think people owe a massive thank you to Matt Healy and Jack
yeah,
Antonoff for making what is now modern day pop music. And
yeah,
actually, when you look at Dirty Hit, the label, like it's got the 1975, Bleachers, Holly Humberstone, like all these acts that actually are indie acts.
yeah,
They aren't, yes, they're major pop acts, but they're actually what was traditionally indie. That's an indie
yeah,
label with their own songwriter writing the songs. And the 1975, right, for me, get mugged off. And I think it's because people are afraid to admit that they're fucking great.
yeah,
Like the
Absolutely great.
1975 are the only band as a bloke in his 30s that I genuinely, when I know they've got something coming out, I'll be like, I can't wait to hear that.
yeah,
I think
Yeah,
that's gonna be sick. Like when the last album came out, being funny in a foreign language, that day, I literally straight away Spotify and listened to the album. I can't tell you, bar McGee, I can't tell you the last artist that I was like, oh, I can't wait. Then obviously Jack Antonoff, being from Bleachers, they get involved with that album. Jack Antonoff produced a lot of Sabrina Carpenter's album, like
yeah,
Lord's
he's great.
album. So, and then like Matt Healy produces loads of artist music. So it's like they've shaped this pop
Yeah,
world that we live in. And I think massive credit needs to go to the fact that like I think pop music as a whole would be shit without them.
yeah,
Like they
yeah,
really are. And also this is the cherry on top about the whole point that we're making about major artists and big arenas and stuff like that. The 1975 of that, they Jamie Oborn started Dirty Hit, independent label, stayed with a band for 10 years before they made it big. They then became hated, which is a taste of any good band. You become hated. Then just went fuck everyone and made a string of amazing albums. Had sellout arena shows worldwide, not just England,
yeah,
not just America, worldwide sellout arena shows. And like people have still got the right to like criticize them. And it's just like you're
yeah.
mental. Like this is the pop perfection. That's
Yeah.
what they are. So yeah, I think what was the question?
Well, so if I glean what you're getting from that, you're looking forward to the day when every 2 days there's like some discourse on Twitter about adult leisure.
Oh, mate, I think that's yeah, I think you know you've made it. The two signs you know you've made it if you're trending on Twitter for a good reason, obviously, not for fucking being cancelled, and if Noel Gallagher slags you off. I think
Would you
if
settle
either of
for
those
Liam?
two things happen, yeah, or Liam,
Yeah.
I'd take either, right? If any of those two slag you off, I'll be like that. Right, mum, I've made it.
Actually, I
That's me
think
now.
Liam would be easy to get. He tends to slag people off a lot, so he tends to
Yeah,
interact a lot with people. So you could just maybe just give it a shot.
Just now, just say
yeah,
Liam, just slag me
Yeah.
off.
And then when that goes viral, then just put the Spotify link to the new
Yeah,
single.
exactly. Yeah,
And there you go. That's modern day PR.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but to answer your question,
uh,
pop music is in, I would say, a brilliant space at the minute. Yeah.
yeah, Really
Yeah.
great.
No, it's true. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it's people marrying the kind of sensibilities of, say, like a Rough Trade Records or something like that, or like, one of these kind of like indie labels, like, and just, putting it to what would otherwise be seen as mainstream pop. And like all the artists you're mentioning are so versatile. They're all
Yeah,
mainstream pop acts, and it's just like, but they all are so distinct and idiosyncratic, and it doesn't feel like. And actually, with major labels, for example, I think like recently they kind of showed their ass a little bit when they dropped Chaperone, and then she just went and had like one of the biggest
became
records of the
massive.
year.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
like that shows you how fucking hated the
Yeah.
major labels are because they don't really know what they have. And also like the genius, and I'm sorry, I'm going back to fanboying now.
No,
The
go ahead.
genius of like Matt Healy. So I take it, have you heard of McGee? Everyone's fucking heard of McGee,
Yeah.
right? Internet sensation, unreal. Like, so I loved an artist called Dijon. He produced Dijon's album. The next thing I know, on Matt Healy's Twitter, he's with McGee's guitarist, right?
Yeah.
That alone then caused like everyone to lose their fucking mind. So not only has he like helped pop music to this point where he's basically shaped the world we live in, he understands trends, he understands these artists that he loves. Like, so then you'll have a fucking like DC universe of like Matt Healy, where it's like, oh McGee, he's like McGee will play on Sabrina Carpenter's album. Oh, and that's produced by Jack Antonoff, and it's Matt Healy's playing. It's like, so I'd much rather this than like the shit that we used to have. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I also love when, like, you get just like weird, like, different musicians and different producers, and you just like put them together and just see what comes out. It's always just like really fascinating. When you just kind of like do that sort of thing where it's like, I don't know, I'm
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a bit nerd about
No, no, no.
that.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right though. Like taking someone out of their normal format
Yeah,
and then placing. Do you know? I tell you what, it's a very dated reference, but I always think it's a brilliant one. Is Rick Rubin when he did
yeah,
Johnny Cash?
yeah,
So that to me was like fucking genius.
yeah.
You put him with a contemporary producer at the time, and that album is just incredible.
Yeah.
So I completely agree. Like having,
And Rick Rubin's somebody who like worked with everyone from like Metallica to Jay-Z, and just like kind of all over the place, and with Def Jam and just all these
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah,
just such a versatile kind of range. And it's like,
yeah.
and I love that interview. I think Anderson Cooper from CNN did with him, where he was like, "So do you know how to use this?" And he's just like
Yeah,
completely technologically inept. He goes, "So
yeah.
what are people hiring you for?"
Yeah, but the thing is, he is the definition of a producer.
Yeah,
Like, because people blur sound engineer to
yeah,
producer. They think it's the producer is the person at the desk.
yeah,
The producer is actually the person that sits with the band and goes, "You've got this bag of shit. Let me turn it into this amazing diamond you've got."
yeah, yeah,
And then tells the sound engineer, "By the way, can you mic up that drum kit?" And
yeah,
it's the intelligence of the sound engineer to go, "I know what you need." And it's that collaboration. Like obviously some producers, like I know Steve Albini was both. Like, and a lot of
yeah,
producers are both, where they'll just do it like Mark Ronson, Jack Antonoff, Matt Healy, they're all both. But
yeah.
Rick Rubin is just a producer. Like, and that's what's great is that he doesn't need to be able to play an instrument or doesn't need to be behind the desk to get you from a point where you were to where you are. And that's why he's paid fucking loads of money because his track record's pretty great.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also think it's sad sometimes too when artists feel that their music wasn't all it could have been because of the production. Like you mentioned the Smiths earlier, like their first record. I think it sounds great, but they were very dissatisfied with the outcome of it. And I'm always like, I don't know, I think like good communication, and I think also being able to sort of like be like, okay, well, this isn't working out, but I suppose there was like limitations, especially because there were a new act on an independent label, then perhaps it couldn't have worked, I guess. But is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
something
yeah.
you guys are like very conscious of too? Is like, when it comes to the people you're working with, because production is, I think, an extension of songwriting. It's not a separate thing. I think, good production, bad production, and those are kind of subjective terms. I mean, like, because I don't know, man, like having high fidelity and having everything just sounding really clean and pristine might technically, be good production,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I just think it has to kind of it just has to be what the music needs, and that's very
Mm.
subjective, and it really requires an
Yeah,
active listener. Especially also even something like, the headphones you wear can really alter the sound. So,
yeah,
people, I know, for example, some producers absolutely hate working with like Beats headphones because it's too
because they are
bassy.
shy. Yeah, yeah. It's like that. They're basically that was just Dre marketing. That's
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
was.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
they're not they're not like great studio headphones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
But no, we work so Nate's brother Ollie is our producer, and the reason it works so insanely well is because one, Nate's fucking related to him, so they've got that connection of
And
like
you guys were complaining about nepotism earlier. You're part of the problem.
um and but also now that we've got this kind of factory way of working where it's like demo, studio, live, and we've got like songs that we've never played live that just sat there waiting to come out like a factory line, just ready to go.
Yeah.
In those moments, you can't be precious. You can't have that ego. You have to just be like, this is, but what's really important about that is that when you are working with somebody, they need to be able to say to you, do this, don't do this. But they also have the complete understanding of what you want.
Mhm.
So a lot of what Ollie does is I'll say something in gibberish and he'll go, I know what you mean. And then he'll make it sound amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's, like you, do you want to carry on, Nate? Sorry, I'm just very aware that
No,
I'm
no.
shit again.
I think what goes a long way is honesty when you're in the studio,
Yeah.
and it's speaking up and not feeling like you're just sat there, and you're particularly worried about one thing that the way I don't know the way something one of my drum fills, for example. Um, it's so important to have that communication and to have that collaborative effort from everybody.
Nice.
Um, but it's also got to be a really comfortable environment. And I think we're really good at that. Like we're really good at making an environment comfortable. And that I feel like that really translates to the music as well. It enables us to get like the best that we can possibly get. But that environment is it's really important in that process because
Yeah.
if you've got somebody, I don't say you're working with somebody who's quite challenging or quite set in their ways, wants something to sound a specific way, it doesn't mean they're right.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's reflective of what everybody else wants too. And it's that's what we try. We're a team. Do you know what I mean? And we're part of
Yeah.
a team, and that's the way we want to work.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying about how sonically something might be perfect, but actually it's lost its like heart almost because it sounds too perfect. That's again why the blend between the musician and the producer needs to be great because they might want it to sound like that and know that that isn't the right way that you're supposed to do that. But fundamentally, our key goal is what does it sound like? Don't care how it's made, the end product, does it sound like how you want it to sound? And that's it. And that's why Ollie's like perfect because, don't get me wrong, sometimes he doesn't like it, does he, Nate? If you try and
No,
say
no.
because he's meticulous, but like if you say, "Oh, can we try it this way?" He sort of gives you a look, and he's like, "Well, that's not going to work that way." And he's like, so sometimes he does have to just like humor us a little bit, and then he inevitably redoes it, and it sounds better. But he has to like just let us have our little moment.
Yeah. Hey, you don't know
Yeah,
unless you try.
Well, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Especially also now because you're not like wasting tape as you do it. So it's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Imagine that,
Yeah.
mate. We wouldn't ever be able to do anything. We just playing the tape.
I often think about that, like like how sometimes outtakes would actually make it onto the record just because they use up the tape and
Yeah,
stuff. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
once actually you mentioned Steve Albini. I once watched a video of him slicing tape together, and it just looks like just for like 2 seconds of an overdub or something like that. It was like insane just how laborious the process was.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
It's amazing. Like it's
We don't
working
know
with
how
tape.
good we have it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I tell you what, change the subject slightly. Do you know what was I can't remember who it was. It was a producer talking, and somebody was saying about how like, oh, it's easy now because we have auto tune and Melodyne and things like that.
Yeah.
And he basically said he was like, we had that. You would move the tape. Like you would literally, so if the tape, if you were flat, they would put their finger and they would move the tape until you were in tune, right?
Yeah.
So he then said, he's like, how the fuck do you think the Beatles did it?
Yeah.
He's like, I think Queen did it. They weren't perfect every time. They would have to go in with the tape and on that bit playback, and they would push with their finger the tape until it bent. Because all it is you're just changing the audio from something, right? So he just pushes the tape up a little bit, and all of a sudden you're in key. So
Yeah.
when people say, "Oh, it's easy now because we've got auto tune," we've always had it. All right.
And it was always easy.
And it was always easy. Nothing we do is hard.
Life is easy, guys. You just gotta
Yeah,
realize
well,
that.
man.
Yeah,
There's no
Yeah.
problems really. I guess the final thing I'm just gonna ask is actually about the single you that's coming out. Well, tomorrow as we record this, but it'll be out by the time this is out. I always think of that line from Back to the Future 3, think three-dimensionally. So it's out now. Don't worry about it.
It's always
But
been out.
yeah, it's always been out and it's always been fine, just like everything in life.
Yeah.
Kiss Me Like You Miss Her. Yeah, I was wondering like if you kind of talk about this single and also when we spoke last year, you guys were talking about prepping for an EP. Is this going to be a part of that, or have things kind of changed and what you're doing is different, or
Dave?
I think we're still a little bit unsure. Not
okay,
at the moment. I think there's definitely going to be some more singles, and we are obviously gearing up for album territory.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about the way that we work is we're sat on a lot of material, so a lot of it is kind of ready to go. A lot of it is recorded and stuff like that, which is a really good place to be. So we're approaching album territory. I don't think we're going to do an EP. I might regret saying
No.
that because
Yeah. It's not
you
in the
never know
cards
what
for
will happen.
now.
It's
Yeah.
not on the cards right now.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
albums on the cards for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in the meantime it's going to be singles. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the start of next year. I don't know. I don't want to give too much
I know
away.
it's so funny. It's like also things change so much that
I know.
at the moment the plan is we hated the fact that last year the releases were too infrequent. So now that we've got this kind of stack of songs, the plan at the moment is to basically just release every 2 months, is to have another single out, whilst also writing an album's worth of material that isn't necessarily the singles. So like another album's worth of material there, with the point of kind of shipping it to people to be like, do you want to put this out? So do you know everything I said about labels and stuff? I'll be groveling to them and I'll be going, I love you so much, Universal, sign me, like that.
I would hate for this podcast to ruin somebody's career.
We'll be there just about to pop the champagne. They'd be like, hang on, is this podcast from a year ago?
If you want, I can just censor it, just like just like one big for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, take out a half hour of me rambling.
It just
And then
becomes
like-
white noise.
Yeah, just white noise. As
It's
me
good.
talking often does, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But for the single itself, I mean, if you just want to talk a little bit about kind of like what this one's about and how do you think kind of like differs, I guess, from kind of what's come before? I mean, obviously, it's more political in nature, this one, and I was thinking, and I don't know if this is me reading into it or not, but like I think it touched on themes like cost of living, while also sort of being kind of a romance song. It seems like a kind of a blend of personal and the politics, which is always a good blend, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I think for a long time tried to stray away from being, again, sort of coming into a scene that was very political and very kind of, we've always been really honest, but our honesty has always come from a personal perspective about loss and things like that, because fuck me, we've got tons of it. So we basically use it as like every source of inspiration, really. So we were writing this song and it sounded different to anything we'd ever done. And the chorus was already there, and then Neil started writing the lyrics to the verse. And you're right. It's basically it's kind of a story in the sense that it's about a person who's lost who they were. So it speaks sort of autobiographically from how we've all changed through how our life, it's so subtle, but actually after a while these subtleties become huge and you kind of lose who you were. So the chorus, when it says "Kiss me like you miss her," is from the viewpoint how I interpret it. And again, this isn't the be all and end all of how it's supposed to be interpreted, but it's a case of that person that you loved no longer being that person, and you're begging them just for that one moment to be the person they were. So they've lost themselves and they've become completely and utterly just shit and just like completely lost. And in that one romantic period where you want just to forget it, they still can't. So that sentence, which is "kiss me like you miss her," isn't about two people. It's for me, it's about the same person. You're begging that one person to be the old person that they were before everything happened. I think it's our take on a political song because I think you have to tread very carefully when writing things that are social commentary or bordering on political because you have to be honest. You can't faux write about being skint if you aren't skint
Right.
because it's insincere. So we're all skint, but what we're in is this horrible thing called working skint, like which actually applies to a lot more people than being at the unfortunate end of fucking skint.
Mm.
Like, there is levels to this, and we come from the generation and the background of like being skint is just normal. Like, we have a nice week after payday, then everything goes out, and then it's pasta and cheese until payday again. And like, do you know what I mean? It's that shitty, like, technically you're earning, but you're not really. Like, you have more outgoings, and to see what life has become where we've all grown up in worse situations like ex-council where so it's not like we haven't had that experience from young, but this is more of a coming across at this time moment now where it's people who there's the horrible fucking phrase, and this doesn't, I'm not saying we're this, but the fact that we have a phrase called working poverty,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a thing. And the attitude of, fucking idiots when they say we'll just get a better paying job. Basically what they're saying is I'm happy for there to be jobs out there that don't pay enough. And this attitude of like, laziness, you're skint because you're lazy, or get yourself a better job, or, things like that. And just complete ignorance to the fact that the majority of people out there have had it shit for a long time to the point now where it's numbing
Yeah.
and
No, absolutely.
we just live in it.
And then also like, the job search and trying to get a better paying job is also it also kind of destroys um your self-esteem in a lot of ways. I mean, it's weird because like I think we all kind of know I don't know, like on a logical level, we know that potential employers don't really have our best interests at heart and that they don't really care about us on an individual level. But
No,
when you get like a rejection letter, it is kind of a personal thing because it does kind of seep into your self-worth. And when you're getting them constantly as you're trying to improve your life, it's just like, again, it's just more beating people down, you know?
exactly that.
So,
I think it's people, and I think what's really telling is that subtleties that you see on social media which weren't there before, which is this grind culture
yeah, I
and
hate that
this
shit.
get a second income, and
Yeah,
it's like, why do you need a second income?
yeah,
You work, your job should pay you enough to live, but it
yeah,
doesn't. So this, Facebook Marketplace, selling everything you fucking have just to be like, oh, it's extra bit of money, extra bit of money. Like, when you see actually how much people are struggling, but to the point where now it's just functioning normality, where, it's just, I think, I don't know about you, but there's just been a real feeling for a long time of just like almost like just a choking feeling of it's all just fucking mental. Like everything at the minute is just absurd. Like it's just politically, it's insane. Like
Yeah.
we've never seen, and obviously I know the bastards are out now, but like the fucking Tory party, like you didn't see levels of shithousery like that ever in politics, right? We're to the dogs now, this country, and it's not to do with fucking like immigration and all that shit. Like that people
Mhm.
pipe down you, this
Yeah.
bollocks, this fucking
Mhm.
I'm all right Jack attitude, and everyone else is the problem. Like we're being crippled, and you're being crippled enough to keep going. You're not, they're smart. You're not crippled enough to stop and to fight back. You're crippled enough to keep going. So you have your little luxuries, you have your holiday, you get your fucking bargain holiday, 1p off booze. Do you know what I mean? Like keep them going with that shit, keep like entertainment for it. And it's like I now generally feel at the point where people have now just got used to being used.
Mhm.
Like I don't know anybody, like, if you look at anyone our age group, I don't know about yourself, but I have one friend who has a kid. Like go back to the 80s, we'd all be on our second.
You're right.
Like
Yeah, absolutely.
we'd have a house and we'd have a car that's like fully fucking paid for.
Yeah.
Like you could get a second job at Tesco's on a weekend. That's your fucking going out money. So like that's gone. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all just gone. And like, it's so every aspect of our life at the moment is a struggle. Nothing's easy and it's getting harder. And I think this is our little take just to wind it up because I was about to get a little rally on me then. Like,
No,
Nate's just
absolutely.
sat there in silence going, fucking shut up, Dave.
I'll change this episode from the music and entertainment category to politics, and
If
Yeah.
you
it might
can,
actually do better.
if you want to join brothers and sisters
Yeah.
socialist committee, come on. But no, I think we were very cautious to begin with to say anything because a lot of people were being very loud, and I think we took our time, and I think
Well,
this
no,
is this.
sorry. The one thing I really like about your how you wrote politics into your music is, I think a lot of times, especially if it's like young kids who, their political outrage is like real. I'm not disqualifying that, but it's just their remedies aren't really fully thought out yet, and it just seems like they're kind of shouting at nebulous concepts like corruption, which is
Yeah,
real.
yeah, yeah,
Corruption is real, but it's not like a tangible object that you can point to
yeah.
and go, that's what corruption is. It's more kind of I don't know, like saying end corruption, like I think most people would agree.
Yeah,
But at
exactly.
the
Like
same
when
time
it's
though, like
yeah,
you can't divorce the political from the personal because a lot of people's mental health, a lot of people's relationships, the capability of relationships. Like for example, like even I heard a statistic recently that like well, it wasn't a statistic, but it was a research apparently that like a lot of young people aren't having sex anymore simply because they all live at home. So a lot of people can't
yeah,
have sex, and
yeah.
that's like, and I'm not just being petulant and saying that,
No,
like
no,
that
no.
is going to affect relationships if you can't have a place
Absolutely.
to meet with your
It
partner
it
and things like
stunts
that.
it stunts development. It
Absolutely.
stunts development
So you
as a
can't divorce the
person.
two. I mean, I think what you're doing is absolutely right, where it's like, you have to look at your own individual problems within the scope of, the system you live in, you know.
That's it. I think we we enjoy telling a story, and I think with you have to make things personal because that's how other people attach to them. You're so right. Just saying like, down with fascism. Yeah, obviously. But that's not like what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
that's just an open arm statement. Of course. Yeah, like, of course you want to be that like well, hopefully, obviously if not,
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
but like
If you're not down with if you are down with fascism, as in you're with it, don't listen to this
yeah,
podcast
so
anymore,
yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think everything we do is always based on the sociology of it all. It's all about how humans interact with people, and you're so right about class and job title, wealth, everything. Unfortunately, it's a part of your personality because it means you have a different experience of life. So, for example, if you were to describe somebody who voted for a certain political party, you have an image in your head of what that person
Yeah,
is.
totally. Yeah.
So, like you were saying about with job interviews, like you were saying about with politics, as much as people say, oh, it's just politics, it's separate, it's not, it's personal, because a politician or policies have to reflect how you feel personally, because otherwise, why would you fucking vote for them?
Yeah, of
So,
course.
this whole idea of attacking people on political beliefs, and people be like, oh, well, it's everyone's fair right. Well, that's fine, but you have to be personally attached to a political belief. Therefore, I can then make a fair assumption about what sort of person you are based on that, right? So again, I think it's just a case of us not having a pop either. We're not in this song. We're not, it's not like, it's not we're not naming any politicians' names. We're not saying anything like that. It's basically a snapshot of our life experiences intertwined with a love story that people can relate to. So yeah, but me, sorry again. Nate, mate, I am so sorry. I'll tell you what, you do it on
No,
your own
no, no,
next
no.
time, mate.
Do you know what? I'm mesmerized by to be quite honest.
Well,
Yeah.
your camera's been frozen for a while. You could have just been making a
Yeah,
sandwich or
yeah, mate.
something.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought that
yeah.
was
Okay,
just
go ahead.
me. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, bless him.
I'm actually having my tea at the minute, so
He just sellotaped onto his
Yeah.
webcam. The final thing I'll ask, I guess, just based on what we're talking about here, I mean, do you find like now, when Adult Leisure gets a kind of opportunity to tour more, perhaps you can see, the different perspectives in other countries too, because I'm from Ireland, but I don't think our living situations are really that different between the countries. And I think actually in Ireland, like sometimes, and I don't know if you feel this way about the UK too, but sometimes I feel like over here we kind of sort of individualize the problems as being like unique to Ireland. Whereas when you actually kind of talk to people who are from, say, France or Germany or any of these countries, like you realize no, actually they're also going through issues like housing crisis. They're also going through a lot of the minimum wage struggles and things like this too. It's not unique to us, and that's I want to be clear. That's not saying we should give our government leeway to not try and address these issues, but I'm just saying, you kind of realize that our problems are probably a bit more universal than we think, and
Yeah.
also to be altruistic. I mean, I think we should also kind of acknowledge the aspects of our country that we do get right, if there is any.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Spot on. You're exactly right. And I think what it is it's in every country. You just adjust to the levels
yeah.
of, and it's really sad. And what's really horrible in Europe at the minute is you're seeing a massive fucking resurgence of right-wing ideologies.
Yeah,
And
you look at Italy, you look at Germany.
it's really scary. And it's kind of, again, it's just been force-fed shite. We're just being lied to about. It's
Dude, I'm seeing that shit here too. We have a
yeah,
we have a general election on the 29th, and I guarantee you it's gonna go right. I'm like so
yeah.
scared. I'm so scared.
It's simple fucking psychology. It's us and them. Who can you blame?
Yeah.
Situation shit. Don't look up.
Yeah, but it's
Fucking
like
blame.
even if you kind of like, I don't know, man. It's like, even as a thought experiment, you go, okay, say you get rid of everyone from the country who's not like natively born here, or it's not like it's not the same skin color or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
it's not going to change. You're not. It's not going to improve, rather.
It's literally it's the case. It's like I would love to ask the fucking idiots, right? Like,
Hmm.
okay, you wake up tomorrow, everyone's back to being good old Anglo-Saxon, right? We are talking generational. There's not
Yeah.
even a dark-haired person in the country, right? We're all back to the Nordic Vikings.
Right.
Who will you hate then?
Yeah.
Who's
It'll
the
just become more regional.
exactly?
Yeah.
It used to be the horrible shite fucking stereotypes, as you're fully aware of, between the English, between the Irish, between the
Hmm.
Scottish.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be that was it. That was our limitation. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
who's nearest. Well, we
Dude,
hate you.
sometimes we can go down to even more micro levels. It'd be like, it'd be boroughs. It'd be like, I
Yeah,
hate the guy from
yeah,
that borough.
yeah. It is. It's just bigotry and ignorance.
Yeah.
It's basically you just point it in the direction of the thing you want to hate, and then that's it. And it's just scary. I think it's just becoming a very dark, especially, and I think guilty of this as well, where it's like chronically online sort of attitude where it's so bleak. And I think luckily, as you go about your day to day, it's not as apparent. But I think there's just a lot of scary characters at the minute that are seeing the limelight because of things like social media and
Yeah.
people that would be renounced to their basement are now all of a sudden getting a fucking platform, and you're
I
like,
think I know who you're talking about, and I don't want to say his name.
do you know what I mean? It's yeah. But anyway, sorry, Nate.
Fuck him,
I'm
though.
sorry, mate.
No, absolutely. I guess that's a good message to go out on is maybe get away from the computer if you can. I know it's
Yeah,
hard.
well, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
chronically online too,
I
and
know. Yeah,
doom
yeah.
scrolling,
Yeah.
not good for anyone.
No, not at all. No, literally not at all.
But hopefully now everyone's leaving Twitter because of Musk and all that. So hopefully people will
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
God, that's going to become a cesspit, isn't it?
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
All
Yeah, I
the
was thinking
ones
about
that
this.
are
I was
left.
thinking, imagine if if Twitter wasn't grandfathered in and you were told, "Hey, Elon Musk has a social media account, a
Yeah.
social media platform," you'd be like, "I'm good."
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Today he's posted 18 AI photos of himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, mate,
I just replied to a bunch of people going, "I don't
yeah,
even speak it."
I love that. I mean, Jesus Christ, literally,
Yeah. The best thing
yeah.
about Twitter right now is people dunking on Elon Musk because it's just funny because it's his platform and everyone's just slagging him off.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going on there. If honestly, I'm like, should I take my stuff off there? I don't know. I'll see. The
Mm.
Guardian recently said they're
But
not
today, yeah,
posting
they got
anymore.
rid, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so
But the thing is, though,
it's
it plays into the hands of the division of the country because the Guardian always gets slagged off as being a leftist paper.
right.
So now that they've left Twitter, all that does is pump the Daily Mail readers full of like
I've thought about that
snowflake
too. Yeah,
tears, having to leave Twitter,
yeah.
lefty soft libbies can't cope on Twitter. And it's just like you can't win. Like, do you know
No,
what I mean?
no. On that note, thanks very much
Well,
for your time, guys. I've really enjoyed
hey,
talking. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up? I think you have a show coming up soon, isn't it? Correct? At the Academy in Bristol, isn't it? Or is that
yeah. We've
gone?
got a show with the Twang and Pastel at the O2 Academy in Bristol. That is on what date? Is that the 13th, Dave? 13th of December.
it is.
I think you're gonna have to double check a minute.
I'm going to
But
quickly get the old calendar right.
yeah,
That is
it's
what are we in now? December. It's the 18th.
18th of December, so that's going to be a great way to end the year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it'd be lovely if people come down to that.
Have you played
Also,
that venue before?
we've never played O2 Academy. That is probably going to be our biggest show to date. I should imagine. So yeah, absolutely buzzing about that one, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a big.
Yeah, and if there is a major label out there that does want to sign us, or any other anyone else, we'll take the help. We'll
take
it.
anyone, mate.
Give it
We'll
to
sign
us.
on.
Come on.
Fine.
Come on, Jack Antonoff, caller.
Yeah, Jack Antonoff you can do independently. He'll
Yeah,
you just have to
mate.
save like 5 million pounds.
Oh, so, yeah.
There, GoFundMe.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. That's achievable.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, guys. And
No,
enjoy
thank
the
you
rest
so
of your
much,
day.
man. Yeah, that's
Well,
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Enjoy your
apologies.
nighttime.
Yeah, and you, mate.
Thank you.
Ta-ra, man.
That's okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.